right, ready to roll.
Hello, I welcome you to our meeting today. And for our first order of business, I need the approval of the agenda for December 12th, 2024. Thanks, Judy. See a second.
Look at that.
Thanks, Carl.
Yep.
All in favor? Good. You don't. We have one who wants to buck, but otherwise we're good to go. And then approval of the minutes from the November 14th meeting. I don't think I can participate because I wasn't here. Thank you, Judy.
I'll second that.
David, can you? Oh, good job. George? In. Okay, good. Any public comment? Heidi? Oh, thank you. Okay, new business, discussion and recommendations for the 2025 City Council goals and objectives. I'm sure everybody put a lot of thought into this, but NJ, Lori, and Ben are going to talk about it.
Yes, we are. So in the packet, there's a little one-page memo that sort of guides you all through what we had in mind for our goal setting process. So this month's meeting will be focusing on council goals that you all will recommend to the city council. And then next month at the beginning of the year, we'll focus on EDC level goals. And I want to be pretty intentional about going through this again, because in the past, I'm aware that we've done it as sort of like if the EDC needs any resources like staff time or budget to accomplish a goal, then it has to be at the level of a council goal. Under Ben's leadership, we sort of want to reframe that a little bit so that we're all more collaboratively working and using resources just where it makes sense, whether it's a council goal or a city goal. So basically, the difference really at the end of the day is a committee goal would be something that you all have your hands on a lot more. And a council goal would sort of be a more citywide organizational level goal. But I want to stress that we don't need to think of these differences in terms of, well, that requires staff time, so it can't be a committee goal. Because we just want to be more collaborative, more just allocating staff time and budget again where it makes sense. So that really is how the differences boil down between those two. Council is going to have their goal setting workshop at the beginning of next calendar year, and those goals will take effect at the beginning of the fiscal year on July 1. So with that layout, before we get into specific goals, does anyone have any questions or comments on the differences between these two?
Oh, we're good. Paul, you're good too? Okay, good.
Perfect. So yeah. So now we can, again, we're going to do council goals today and then committee level goals at our next meeting. And so this is a great place to brainstorm, to dream, as we've described it a couple times before, about what the city should take on. And I put on the back of what you're looking at for the one-page memo is the current breakdown of the city's goals and objectives. The broader 6 goals that you see on that poster over there to your left, if you're in the room, those are the broad overarching goals of essentially where we want to get to. And then these objectives are they're much more specific, they're much more project oriented. They have a budget and typically one or more staff members assigned to completing them. And on the specific objectives, throughout the year, typically twice a year, we give the city council updates on where those goals are. So you can look through and see all of the goals and more specifically the objectives that are currently in place and then anything you think is appropriate to add to them.
On some of these, it's easy to tell when they'll be
Could
done.
you scoot the mic a little closer?
Okay. On some of these, it's easy to tell when these will be accomplished. And on others, I just glanced through it. It's like, I won't know when it's done. And so I was just curious.
Huh?
I have a timeline.
No, Mike, for you.
About to say something.
I was,
They're so general.
yeah,
Sorry about that, Judy.
yeah. So some of them, it's like, I can tell like item 3.1, develop and implement a plan. Okay, so that I can tell that is going to be done. When I look at item 2.3, foster collaborative partnership with senior center, how do we know that is done?
Yeah, and I'll let Ben touch on this too after I just give a quick answer. I mean, those are essentially what the city council, whenever you see ongoing for the timeline, the city council essentially wants us to do that in perpetuity. It's not something that's like a project that has an end date and it will, you can check off that we've established community partners. So it's something that the city council wants us to be a priority essentially forever.
How
Yeah.
do we know?
Right. And so I guess what I would say is usually with council goals, it's about visioning. You come up with these goals of what is, as NJ mentioned, a priority to the city. Some of them can take years, some of them can take decades. It's really what is the priority right now. We do have some of these obviously that we want to accomplish in 1 or 2 years, and that's where we're coming up with those bite-sized pieces. But really, and that's one of the things that when we had talked, I was like, I didn't like hearing that you couldn't do something for 6 months after you guys had a goal. Like if you know that something is there and it's already going towards the vision of the city, as a committee, you should be able to start working on that. Now, when it comes to staff time, as NJ mentioned, we want to make sure that we're collaborative. We have the time that they can step in, volunteer that time, and do what they can in the time being. Some of those things do wait for some budget allocations or other things to free up. But really, it shouldn't restrict the committee in general from starting to move on things right now. So when we're looking, going back to the council, it's all about setting that vision. What type of visionary things do we need to adjust, if anything? They already have the diverse local economy in there. What things specifically, which necessitates the VC here, what type of things do we need to have as part of that vision to get where we need to go in the future? Are there things that the council needs to focus on as part of the vision, which then sets priorities for the staff? If so, those would be good things to recommend to the council. If it's not, things that are just specific to you guys, that would be waiting for next month to set, your own goal settings. And then when you do your goals, it's once again going back to what the vision is. We want to make sure they align with the vision of the city, but it doesn't have to be down what the council has bullet pointed. And then the council will obviously give feedback if they feel, because really your goal as a committee is to be a supplement to the council, help them accomplish their goals. But there's lots of ways to do that. So how do you know? I know some of them, it's you just go until you feel it's been enough of a priority, until something else needs to become more of a priority. So as you mentioned about the partnership with the senior center, we in perpetuity do that until there's that feeling that we have that well enough, that maybe something else is a higher priority, but we keep doing that, it just maybe falls off of identifying as a high priority.
Thank you.
I don't know if I answered your questions.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Question about,
David?
so if there's a blank under project status, what does that mean? If there's nothing noted. So there's on hold, in progress, and then there's any that have nothing written. So
I didn't write these ones, so I'm not 100% sure on that aspect. But I don't know, Laura, if you have.
Likely there is a project status for all of these. I'm not sure exactly when this particular chart got pulled into this, but we do have to provide updates throughout the year. So it likely just didn't get captured on this particular form.
then on 1.2, 4.4, 4.5, 5.6, is there a rubric that for scoring and identifying, but it says potential changes, so what changes are we thinking about, or how are there a process identified for trying to identify those changes, like and scoring system?
I would say as far as the goal setting, it wouldn't be attached to this, but yes, when we're going through, that's the operation side where the staff is reviewing, they would come up with a rubric or working with the committee or whatever that may, that's on the staff to accomplish vision for that one. So it wouldn't be a detailed in here as a goal or objective, but yeah, as part of our process, we would be looking into that. And I know, NJ in general for that particular item has been reviewing the urban rural district, getting feedback from those who've applied and other people to come up with proposed changes for that.
Been some updates to the grant, urban renewal grant program application form and things like that. Like as we're awarding our first few awards for those grants, there were some changes needed. We've been working directly with the urban renewal agency on those changes, minor, not changing anything huge, but minor. Requiring 3 bids for public improvement plans, things like that.
So like we're 6 months into these goals, right? The council is 6 months into their goals, their execution. So all of these we're looking at these as to, do we want to continue these goals? Do we think these goals will actually be accomplished within the next 6 months? Because they all seem very broad.
And they should be broad
Yes.
on the council level. It would be if there's anything that needs to be changed, anything need to be added. Is there something that needs to be focused on more as
Really
part
like
of
1.1.
economic development, obviously within your purview? So that's what we're really focusing on with you is the economic development side. What needs to be suggested that they should consider? What maybe objectives can help accomplish that goal that maybe they haven't been looking into, or that they should make more of a priority or set some budgetary things to.
Okay. I think that 1.1 should definitely become a focus. Paul, do you have something to say? Paul.
Hi guys, how you doing? I'd like to add one, if that's okay, or maybe just discuss it. And as Ben was saying, dream a little bit. But develop and implement a plan to create a vibrant downtown corridor that serves as a hub for economic activity and community engagement. So basically, we've talked a little bit about the downtown corridor. It's never really been a goal of council. And with the 50-year plan kind of commencing now, it just would be perfect to kind of get that as a council goal, I believe.
Is that a, did he?
We can discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, this is still kind of free flowing. We'll sort of make a final recommendation at the end, but it sounds like there's a lot of support for that. So thank you, Paul.
Anything about community branding? We moved for Paul. Does anybody feel that should come back in, and why we can't have that back on?
Want to take
Don't know if we're allowed to take it back.
about to ask.
Don't know. Ask NJ.
Yeah, so on this one, this would really need to be some sort of joint work session between EDC and City Council, because the council put the branding project on pause specifically because it wasn't quite known how they wanted it to be carried out. We tried an RFP, and even though we got 11 bids in response to that RFP, which is a lot, none of them were super responsive, and a lot of them, in fact, 8 of the 11 were out of our budget for the project. And so they told us to put it on pause, and then we will figure it out at a later date. But I think a work session between EDC and City Council could get that going for now that we've done that and know what the consulting economy thinks this project costs. Do we want to do it in-house, or do we want to save up a little more and go out for a bid again?
I'd love to see what the RFP asked for, why it came back so cost prohibitive.
Actual proposals.
The other question I would have on that, not knowing the full context of what happened before,
Of course.
is it the right time for that? If there are other priorities, like you're wanting to get that developed downtown, you want to really get that core going, would it be better to get that going first and then brand? Or do you want to have a brand first and develop around that? That would be the question of what comes first. I'm just asking for priority purposes.
Well, I think that we've wanted, I mean, I've been on this team for 9 years and we've wanted to talk about the downtown corridor and it's been pushed off, pushed off, pushed off. Now the 50-year plan, it's still being pushed off. So branding was really the only thing, but I definitely think that understanding our identity will help in everything else being properly defined.
But all the discussions around branding have pretty much been a consensus so far. So I think it's something
Correct.
that could be moved forward. One thing I'm looking at too is that I think would tie into this is we're in the Travel Oregon grant season. And I think letters of intent, I was looking at that on my phone, but I think they're due in January. And they could possibly be used to get, due between now and January 15th on their grant interface. And we could use, if we could get a grant from them, I think that we could use that grant fund some of this stuff we're talking about.
But that requires staff time and that would require us to say, hey, you have 30 days to get this together,
Yeah.
right?
Correct. It would probably take staff time. One thing, as I'd mentioned before, though, I am trying to be a little bit more fluid with our staff time. We want to be more responsive because these grants do come up. I'm not saying that we can commit to everything, but we do want to make sure that we are responsive as things come up because sometimes it is about the moment. If you miss it, oh, that's too bad. And then you can't, we're going to wait for years again for it to come around. So we are working to make sure we can free up time for things like that if it is main priority for something like that. And I think Lori had actually mentioned for the TGM grant or for different types of grants to kind of get some funding for something like this. So
Is that something realistically, we can't really add that to our this year's goals? I don't think we could impact that. Right now.
I mean, to your point about the downtown overlay and things like that, the discussion last year was that we would try to seek grant funding for an updated downtown plan. The TGM grant cycle, let's see, it's like in the spring that I would need to apply, March, April, I believe.
Yeah, it's March.
March. I had, and you guys can go online and look too, but there was a really nice one done, funded through TGM a few years ago. I'm asking for their scope just to get an idea, but it's the North Plains Downtown Improvement Plan. But these are things everyone's been really kind of talking about and focused on. Some of the things they looked at was how to retain and grow small businesses downtown and attract new businesses, foster a favorable environment for private investment and adaptive reuse, establish a civic center with vibrant public places, build infrastructure for a safe and accessible downtown. So again, they looked at a lot of the things that I've heard have been concerns and things that we want to look at. Also, it could help with some code updates, looking at our downtown code that we have now, downtown overlay code. The boundary has also been a question. Do we want it in the same place it is today? Do we want to adjust the boundary? So I guess in my mind, I've sort of been thinking that's something we'll, be applying for or going towards. So it would be nice to hear though, if that's something that interests you since it is coming up soon. But that could be, if you felt there was value in having staff go after a grant like that, to have the consultants who bring their expertise to the project and also kind of help the project move forward and keep everyone on task, that that could be a goal that you recommend to council. that we go after that grant.
Okay.
It would allocate then funding for a grant match and staff time to just administer that.
Was it, do we, and I don't care one way or another, but do we always have to hire an outside consultant?
We don't, it just comes down to staff capacity. And so a lot of times while it's a lot of interaction with the committee, with staff, the consultant can really bring their expertise to the project, provide examples from around the state, and could also facilitate the meetings, prepare the documents, et cetera. That's those administrative tasks and the assistance with that can be really helpful. So if we did not get the grant, or if we felt we didn't want to go for the grant, it just might take longer to get through the process.
And it can also be done through, if the committee has expertise as well, if
Sure.
there's not staff that's able to designate,
Right.
they can, as the committee, you want to head that up, that could be something done. Sometimes it takes a little longer with how meetings work, but that could be the other route as well. And I did want to put one caveat on our goal setting. As soon as I get council's approval on our council goals, my preference is not to wait till July to implement them. Once I have those goals in place, I know that's their goals. It's implemented right away. The only thing that may change is we might have to wait for budgetary constraints. Maybe, but we can do supplemental budgets if it's a priority. I mean, there are things that we can do and be a lot more, once again, fluid with how we do our operations. And it's all about trying to work that out. And I don't always have the answer of what that will look like, but it's just the comment to you that we're really working to make sure that we can make things happen a lot more live than putting it on hold.
Christine, I want to point out Jeanette's raising her hand.
Jeanette?
Yes, a couple of things that come to mind is that I have been just, and Ben can correct me if this is where this is going, what you and Lori were talking about with a gentleman, Bill Flood, I believe, and is the community in, I can't recall the name of the organization, but it's something that they come into small communities and they would work, say, with EDC in order to develop a plan. I don't know if maybe your memory is a little bit better on that than me. And then, and second would be, see, my memory is not here today.
Jeanette?
The second point would be, well, anyways, it'll come up.
I was going to say that the company you were talking about that you had mentioned was the Community Heart and Soul.
Community Heart and Soul. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate. Yes. And I'm not sure if that's something that the Community Heart and Soul can come and do. And then also, I just recently, not too long ago, found out that the city of Scappoose were part of the Main Street. There's a Main Street that is a chapter that is in St. Helens, but I know our city is part of that. How would that play into developing our downtown area? Ben?
Oh, for me? Yeah. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Ben or Lori, Ben or Lori.
Right. Those are all important things to consider as we're talking about goals, because they do all work together. They're different focuses. It's just a matter of which priority we put first. Having that downtown core is important. We talked about, do we have several? Do we just have one? I think in general, there's, not just do we have downtown cores, we have commercial districts that are different. So maybe this is our downtown here, but then we have our retail district. There's lots of different ways to look at things, but it's just a matter of what vision do we have, and working on that strategic plan, which is fantastic, having that solidified. Then we want to get our downtown Main Street organ helps with that. We can look for grants and getting partnerships and different resources that they provide. That is great to help our downtown, but we have our local people that can help with branding or downtown vision as well. I mean, there are lots of different ways to go about this. It's just picking which way we want to go and prioritizing them.
Yeah, it'd just be great if there's already resources out there and maybe that the staff knows about, then it would be great just to mention it, because some people might know about it, some might not. So if you know anything like that, or if it could apply, any organizations that have reached out to the city, that can support what the EDC is trying to do, that would be great.
So my knowledge on the Main Street program, because we've certainly talked about this quite a lot, that we were a low-level member from what I understand, but Alex always like kind of made us believe that it was another committee in itself and it would require additional, like a partnership between whatever this small group is and a staff person because it was quite a bit of work. And then at one point I thought that we actually didn't qualify for it.
We are at the lower tier level. Any city that's interested in developing their downtown can be at that level. I've mentioned before, there was a requirement for 20 contiguous sites that have historic buildings or are, I feel like there may be some gray area there where we could show that even though we don't have those 20 contiguous sites of historic buildings, we could say it's still a part of the fabric of our downtown. There's some gray area there. Now, to what extent we can move up higher in that level, it does require designation of either a part-time or full-time person dedicated to the program, whether that's a downtown association that gets established as a nonprofit in Scappoose to work on the Main Street program. But yeah, to get it off the ground, it does require someone really to be focused on that. And it's recommended that it be not a staff member, that it be a separate entity, a downtown association, if you will. So that could potentially be a goal too, to explore the establishment of like a downtown association.
Yeah, the way I like to think about Main Street, Oregon, or just the Main Street program in general, is it provides a framework. They're not really somebody who's going to come in and develop something for us. It's just providing steps. So when you get up these different levels, you don't really qualify for much anything different. You qualify for your grants from day one. As long as you're part of the program, you can go for grants. And that's usually the biggest resource they can provide. You can still go to all their conferences, which is another resource they provide. Really just going up those tiers is just developing your program based off their framework to get your downtown more self-sustaining through engaged partners and businesses that want to help placemaking, help business grow, help attract new places. So it's a great framework. And so that's where I really say it does take, if you're going up those steps, it takes staff time, it takes partnerships, it takes whatever. It is an internal project.
And in our last meeting that he had personally approached, that they didn't have the momentum to, wasn't enough support among building owners. So I'm not sure what the paperwork looked like that they prepared to sign one copy of it. I did call about 4 weeks ago to confirm that Scappoose was a member, level we were, how long we've been in it, whether there's been any activity. I also asked the question, and that was where it kind of died, was said half of our downtown burnt to the ground a long time ago and has never been rebuilt. And so is there any way that we can use Main Street as a vehicle for creating a downtown? That question was never answered. It is part of the public. Surprisingly, I was kind of floored, but it's done by REC, Oregon Parks and Rec. That's the overarching organization.
Runs the Main Street program. Do we know that?
Main Street, Oregon, yeah, they're kind of housed under that department at least.
So aside from this, aside from the Main Street program, like Vernonia and Klatskin, I think that's great. They didn't use Main Street. They used like Travel Oregon to do
Some of their grants.
Yeah, Travel Oregon, there's Business Oregon that also does, I mean, that Travel Oregon's are kind of on them, but they do technical assistant grants. They can also help. There's a lot of places to get resources. Really comes down to having that vision of what we're going to go after in the first place. We know what to tackle and what priority. You know, another part of developing a downtown, I was looking at Main Street America's website, and they had 2 examples on there. One of them actually was here in Oregon. It was Oregon City here in Oregon, and the other one, I don't remember where it was at.
Michigan.
Yeah, somewhere in Michigan. But both of those videos are like 3-minute videos. We can send them out to you. They just really describe what when there was a nothing place to where they're a vibrant downtown. One of the main things that I pulled out when I was listening to them was the ability for somebody to be engaged, number one, as a private person, but they really focused on placemaking, like having these events, bringing people downtown. And that's why I talked about the prioritization besides just having that branding. But sometimes that branding comes by what we've decided to place make, and we may not know what that is yet. What really is that fabric of our downtown? What's that fabric of our business where people can get passionate about? Do we know that at this point or not? Do we have to develop some type of events, that can really create that? I don't know. Um, just a different thought of something that could also be in there is, placemaking or your facade improvements, just the downtown look and feel. There are a lot of different things we can focus on. It's just what is that first step priority, and we can list a couple of them there. Like timelines, it says some can be next year and the year after, but it's good to have that kind of order, bite-sized steps of how we want to get to that end vision.
It seems that that's what Jeff's doing, placemaking with his events.
The Watts House is actually the Whoville is something that draws people from all over. Has been on TV at least once this year.
Yeah. So my thought on this, maybe we're big dealing the branding a little too much, but like we don't need I don't think we need to go through 2 years worth of figuring out what our brand is. But I think what we don't have today is a very clear guidepost on who we are in a community to sell it both to our citizens and to businesses that may want to come here. So whether it's a big, long process or something like, let's just officially recognize who we are as a community and put it on paper so that we can clearly communicate it. Like that needs to be done before we talk about a downtown, in my opinion.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for your passion. I've written all these down, but I didn't write Paul's down. It was really long and I missed it. It's for spitballing purposes.
Would it be helpful? Paul, would you be willing to send a link to us again of your city council presentation?
Oh, yeah.
For
his branding project.
That you basically, know that you gave a very comprehensive talk on branding. And rather than ask you to present again, maybe just a link so that we could go there, look at it in preparation for having a future conversation.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
And I wanted to take this opportunity to mention that 5.3 address aging water infrastructure. On that objective is the video series that I'm trying to get us all to watch is directly related to replacing or trying to avoid pitfalls in budget moving forward by we're having budget problems today doing what we're doing, then we need to do something different moving forward. And that video series lays out how parking requirements and atomic age development, where we're building on the periphery and letting our central city decay rather than redevelop. Those two things together are kind of a recipe for budgetary disaster. So I would highly encourage, as an economic development committee, not that we are trying to wade into budget stuff, because we're not, but we can't try to develop something that we can't build on a shaky foundation.
So David and I had a very long discussion on Monday this week. I think it was Tuesday. And he would like us to watch videos. NJ and I didn't think that it would be the best use of our time to watch them during this session, since we only have about an hour and a half. And that's all we have. So spending our time watching a 30-minute video and then taking up valuable time when we could do other things. However, I would like everybody's commitment to, if David sends out a video, that we could we could all watch the video prior to coming in, and then we could have an agenda item and discuss that video. I need everybody's buy-in to do this because we've sent them out before. Nobody's watched the videos, including myself. So we need to do that.
Yeah, where I struggle is when it's a list or a series. If you just pick one and say, this is the one everybody should watch before the next one, I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
I do agree, though, having an agenda item to discuss it helps hold yourself accountable, which is a great way to go, because then we need to bring something to discuss about video.
Okay,
Like doing the reading before class.
do I need to make a motion for that, or do I, we need to do a blood oath to get everybody's commitment to do that, everyone?
David, if you want to, it's up to you. If you want to send the 1 or 2 videos to me that you think are the most important, or just send them directly to the committee, I'll leave that up to you. Between now and next meeting.
Don't overwhelm me with videos.
I might send it more.
I like to just do the transcript. I'm really good at reading.
So, Paul, I have a question about the AI synopsis that you've sent a couple times. If there's something that you're using to get that created, I don't think it's automatically generated. I think that that's your brilliance. If you could share that with me, I would appreciate it.
No problem.
I
Hi, Laura.
I did watch all the videos.
Good job, Lori.
Thank
Gold
you.
star.
Oh,
Gold star.
One thing I noticed, though, is that the areas they were talking about in terms of sprawl, which we all know it's not very efficient, were, I believe, most of those states where they had these focused is they did not have urban growth boundaries, which we do have in Oregon, and so there is a requirement that you have compact and efficient utility services. So I think in a grand scheme, Oregon may be doing better than some of the case examples they provided. So I just want to share that as a general comment. I think there's still a lot of value in the ideas that they're sharing.
One of the cities that they did a study on was Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
So
Not all, but
I
in a
think that
general.
I think that there is so in specifically it was talking about where the income and expenses were, and it had a 3D graph showing that the downtown central core is where most of the income was coming from.
Tax base.
And
It was
that,
very interesting.
yes, it is interesting. I would not discount it. There are things that you can take from it. I agree that maybe the central push is to 86 all cars, and that's not what I'm trying to get people to do. I know that we are a bedroom community and cars are a part of our future. But for example, it did say that outside of the downtown core, which was an older 1920s, like our Sinro with the liquor store, and those kinds of stores are very, they don't use much and they pay a lot in taxes. And then if we do the same thing with the drive-in, the revenue is actually like half as much, was the point that they were trying to make. But they do have brand new developments that also have that same huge revenue stream for the municipality. And just to kind of boil it down, it looked a lot like Orenco Station. So something brand new that looks like Orenco Station, if it is equal to the other things that they were trying to say also was a benefit to the city budget-wise. And so, but if we can encourage redevelopment of our center, the money from SDC charges and things like that go towards plugging holes in your aging water infrastructure line item.
I just want to circle around to Carl just about the goals again real quick. Back to the rebranding. So clarify, are you feeling that it's,
Branding, not rebranding.
sorry,
Let's clear, yeah,
branding of our downtown? Are you feeling that
of our city.
we're lacking a vision? Is that more what we need to put in here? Is that we need to develop a vision of what this looks like in the first place? And then create a brand eventually around that? Or are you feeling that the branding itself is that process?
Loosely, I think there's a vision, but I think brand, like when we're going out and if we're going to convince a business to come here, we are technology focused and we want industry here, or we're family, we're focused really, are we really a community of people who enjoy outdoor activities? Like it seems like depending on what we're trying to convince people of, we represent ourselves differently with different values. At the end of the day, that creates a hodgepodge, which I think we're seeing of different everything. So I think it's also like when we're trying to sell a hotel, how hard is it to tell a hotel why they should build a hotel here? It's really hard.
Did a good job.
Carl, what's your elevator pitch then for Scappoose?
I don't flipping know. That's why I think seriously, I do. I think depending on who's in the room, we're either family outdoorsy or, oh no, we're all about, PCC OMIC and we're industry focused, or like maybe it's all those things in some mix, but
Well, I think it always depends on the audience because there's different elements of every city that will appeal to a different population. Oh, but I think during our, am I interrupting you?
I
going.
want to make,
Keep going.
like, I don't agree we should have a message that changes though. I mean, look at what the county did. I think we talked about when this came up. They put in a lot of time, money, and effort into branding the county. We should be able to tag on to that in a very easy way to show how Scappoose fits in this overall community here in Columbia County. And that way we can clearly explain to people why they should want to live and work here.
So in the 50-year plan, the consulting company who does not have any commitment to our town, nor can they pronounce the name of our town, created a vision statement for us. So I think it's definitely important that through vision or through branding, we do identify who we are.
Who we are and where we want to go. That may change. I mean, we may have a brand of who we are.
Yeah.
Where do we want to be? And maybe brand it that way or vision that way of we want to get here. So we're going to start saying that's who we are now and we're going to push that way.
So is it the undertone? I mean, I heard what Carl just said, but like the reason that I moved here was to raise my children because I didn't want urban children. The reason why I stay here is for OMIC. So different message, different identity. So it's hard to get under that one place.
I think people move here for their
Don't?
Well,
I think
you're
they
wrong.
do.
They
do.
Yeah.
Really?
that all the time.
Yeah. Why are you here? You have littles.
People tell me all the time.
Yeah, I'm a high school graduate a long time ago in this city, and I hear a lot of people, they go off after high school, they go off to college, and they work a couple years in Portland or Seattle or Boise or whatever, and then when they have kids, they come back.
And that's small town USA. That's everywhere. I mean, as a recruiter, that's my dream person is to find somebody who went away and bring them back closer to the grandparents. That's what we do. I moved here specifically because I wanted a small rural community that was still close to the city.
You get people in the library every day that are new that moved here just because they wanted to raise their kids.
So what I'm hearing is basically future, because children are future, technology is future. And so that's just, what I'm hearing. And the reason I was looking around the room is I was looking to see, is there a vision statement somewhere on this wall? So every person that walks.
Oh, it's right here, but it's really small.
It's more like a vision book.
It's not a statement.
Right there.
This
That
is
is-
our emergency exit route. It's not that. This is our vision statement.
That's
So
too
it
big.
has
Yeah, I
Too
know.
big.
Smart growth, lifelong learning, sustainable economy, connected community, caring community, local pride, and.
That sounds like mission or values. It doesn't sound like vision. Vision should be something short and what every person can remember to say.
Yeah.
If asked. And
We do have a slogan that's small town, big community.
That is one of the questions I have for the council during the goal setting this year, because it is a very lengthy pamphlet. I don't know what you call it, a one-page something.
It was a committee project. There was a committee put together and they worked on it for quite some time and that was the results.
Oh, I thought that consultant, that be with the French name.
This? No, you're talking about the 50-year plan. That was put together in like 2015, 16, under Michael's leadership. This was the 50-year vision for economic development was the result of all of the data we got back from the surveys that we did. And this was kind of consolidated down into what we heard. It was not the consultant telling us what it was them framing what we heard from our citizens, just to make clarification on that.
And I do think that is a good framework, but we do need to probably consolidate to a statement of some type that we can go off. The other point I want to mention though is consider is we may have a city vision, and that may be why people move here, to have a small town feel. That may be one of the big things. I don't think most people move here because of their downtown. Scappoose had that downtown. I really want to be there. But maybe there's a different vision that we have for our downtown, for our stuff that is kind of underneath that vision. We have our main city vision, but now we're more specific for what we're doing for economic development. That's more of what I was asking of what does that look like? And it may be a different message because yeah, you're moving here because it's small town. You're moving here because you don't want urban people. But when we're looking at our downtown or our commercial side, what is that vision? Because that's really focused on people that are already here, and then how do we attract more people to come visit? But it may not be that they're moving here. So it would be a little bit different of a message because of the focus.
Matt. Santiago. Anyway, I agree.
No,
with
it's
that.
me, Jeanette. It's me, Jeanette. I don't know if it was a Matt. Is that who you're calling me?
Santiago, she was asking for you, yes.
Oh, okay. So I agree with you all, and I've been hearing the same thing. This is me personally of how I envision, because we have OMIC, we have something that nobody can claim, across the United States. I think we should really take that to, if we had an iconic, item or place or whatever in our town, we would showcase that for a long time. We had the biggest candle in the world. And so we do have an innovative, I don't know, structure. We have OMIC, which is nothing like this across the United States. Why can't we, and this is personally for me, why can't we brand this as an innovation town? That innovation can be very general. Growth it translates to growth, it translates to change, it translates to new and upcoming. Even though we're a small town, does not mean that it should take us out of that being innovative. That's just
Right.
my
So
2 cents.
what I would just follow up, and I do have to head off to another meeting. So I'm just gonna cut off there real quick, sorry. It does sound, what I'm saying, we do need a vision. It sounds like there's a lack of vision of not, I mean, yes, there's a good community vision that we can maybe summarize a little bit better, but for our community development specifically, or economic development, there is not a vision of how that ties together. And we could talk about what that is today. That's not really what we have time for. We're talking about those goals, and it sounds like one of those goals should be we need to solidify that vision so we can really know where we're going with all of this. And I do agree with Paul, having that downtown as a focus would be another thing we put in there. The last thing I want to mention before I head out is just because the next subject, placemaking would be the only thing I would add to that strategic plan that you put together. Maybe some have been mentioned of creating these or developing or further increasing the businesses to have additional placemaking to add on to what the library is already doing as well to bring more people downtown as one part of the. Any question before I head out?
Not for Ben. Thank you, Ben. So Jeanette, I don't disagree with you. I think that OMIC and the innovation is definitely paramount for the city of Scappoose. However, I cannot tell you how many citizens that I talk to in our town who don't know that it exists. And it's sad. And it goes to how informed our population and how invested they are. They don't even know we have PCC. So
You know what's really good for informing people what we have? A brand.
as I was about to get to, thank you for stealing the thunder, Carl. Go ahead,
No,
lead the
that's
meeting. It's kind of like your Superman socks. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know that OMIC can be our brand because it's not relevant to everyone.
So I do want to do a bit of a time check. We're at 12:52. I think this conversation is really important in terms of what our particular brand is, but I might redirect us back to thinking about council goals and objectives.
Oh, I think we are. I think that, obviously creating a brand is important, having a good vision. Thank you. Escape me. Vision, obviously 2016, maybe we should update it. Gone through so much since then. So many city managers. And I think that, these two things seem to be paramount to go forward.
So downtown strategic plan, as Paul mentioned, plus placemaking, and then additionally reopening branding. Is that the two you're mentioning?
And vision. As
Branding and
separate items.
visioning okay.
As they obviously have to be two different things. We have to have a vision before we can brand.
I can go.
That's a bit semantic, but yeah.
All right. We have all these different words. I didn't know if we needed to use them all.
Forgot strategic.
Okay, so do you want to move on? Are we done spitballing or?
Can I have one more spitball?
Yes,
Yeah.
Carl?
So, it's adjacent to everything we were talking about, but with the topic of why people move here to begin with, under enhanced community livability, I think some kind of, we got on here collaborative partnership with the senior center. I'd like to see something collaborative with the education system. It's kind of a big light got shined on it with the whole St. Helens thing, but with the bond, our schools don't have heating and cooling.
Oh, they do. They're fine.
They got windows and fans.
Those kids need to be tougher.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just putting my opinion out there. Bond got shot down, a bunch of other things. So
I think that just as a city, we're definitely separate. The city and the schools, we're not together. Are we together?
but that's what you're talking about enhancing community. Why are we partnering with the senior center?
I don't know. I don't know why that one is there.
Okay. Well,
Why is that there, Lori?
We give them some funding. Believe it's about $15,000 a year. We also do a lot of logistics support. So helping them achieve their goals, helping them sort of track their finances and accounting a little better.
I don't know why that would be a city goal, a city council goal.
It was important to the council. Anything that's important to the council can become important to the city by getting on this list.
what I'll say, if people are moving here specifically because they want to raise their families here, literally our schools are at the center of our city. I think at the very least, it should be a high priority to pay attention to and make sure that that's going in a way that impacts the whole community. That's what I'm saying. Whatever can be done.
Yeah, and Carl,
Recognize that they're totally separate governing bodies
Right.
and that they could not ever but I think some influence and collaboration to make sure.
Well, the last city council definitely supported the bond that 75% of the citizens turned down.
Definitely people not on the same page.
yeah, and this doesn't necessarily have to be about the bond to be about partnership, but Something else that we've done in terms of developing partnerships is like however many times a year you want. It could be like twice a year, it could be once a year. A representative from the agency we're trying to improve our partnership will come give an update to council during a meeting, and so you're just building that relationship. You're learning a little bit more. What are their challenges? What are their goals for the next 3 years as a school district? So
How
it
can
could,
the city support or?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think traditionally how the city and school have worked most closely is by sharing a police officer. So at certain times, we'll have a school resource officer. The city and the school share in that person's salary. And so that kind of went away during COVID. We're looking at trying to see how we can partner to bring that back again. But I think traditionally that's been probably the most visible presence of the city in the schools.
The library.
About the library, Jeff.
About the
Because
library.
we're looking at schools, we're looking at education. What I've seen, I'm new, I came here in March, and what I've seen at the library, just, I don't have any littles, but I think it's really wonderful, all the things, I've been going to all the events that the library is doing, and I have no idea what else there is. What are the kids? I saw there was like a summer reading program or something there, and what if there's after school, so that's a way to help in education, and that as okay, we have the safety resource officer, and that's something different, keeping our kids safe, but think about the education's the fun of it all.
We do after school programs every day. But we aren't part of city government.
That's why we have Jeff here
Right.
with us now, always.
Right, and then the senior center, is that part of city government?
No, it's not. It's separate. It is, yeah, it is separate, although there were a number of years back, I believe it has changed to being the senior and community center. So there's somewhat of a partnership there. And funding assistance, as NJ said. So a little bit of, partnership there.
Okay. What do you want to do, NJ?
On the other, the two most recent ones, the first two seem pretty well established, but on the two most recent ones, partnership with the schools and partnership with the library, I would be interested in like a straw poll temperature check from the whole committee for how everyone's feeling about those.
I thought this wasn't necessarily a voting session. I thought this was just a spitballing session.
Yeah,
You need straws to spitballs, is the analogy I'm going to make.
I mean, fostering a collaborative partnership with the senior center is important. Number two, then things like the library and the school systems are, they at least as important as that.
I would think more so, not to minimize the senior center.
So
Only because we were talking about people move here to raise their families. And that's, I was trying to make a connection.
also a big fan of pulling goals off because so
Yeah.
I'd be equally supportive of just removing 2.3 from your goals, so you can focus on other things if that's in a
Yeah.
place where it can be.
I would agree. I mean, these are a lot of things. I mean,
Frankly, all the ongoing ones, kind of talking about what's a goal, like those aren't really goals anymore.
Your activity.
That's
and there's too many things to be successful. There's too many things.
I'm going to advise us against trying to like pick through all of council. I get what you're doing, but I would just, I just don't want to go there.
It's more like, seems point. I thought this was, we're spitballing, you're gonna take these 4 back, we don't need to vote on them or anything, but like, hey, here's some ideas. Hopefully these same conversations happen in council when it's, you're right, we should add all those. Well, do we add literally everything in the city as an objective, or maybe let's really try to narrow focus?
Jeanette. Santiago.
Yes, thanks. Thank you. I would like to hear from from your committee, more clear on those goals that you are suggesting that council adopts. And the clearer the goals are, the better that we get to understand what is it that you need. I know that you're kind of throwing and spitballing, but the clearer your goals are, the clearer that we'll be able to implement them.
I think that the objective of this meeting is to spitball, and then the next meeting will.
Well, I know
Drill
that
down.
we're meeting, we're gonna be meeting soon, and I'm not sure if we're gonna have enough, this committee is gonna meet soon enough to get their input in.
But I'm
That's all I'm
misunderstanding.
concerned. So you guys, we have a meeting with council, but be next week, but it's not on the, or not next week, on Monday, but it's not on the agenda. But when we do have our council goal meeting or retreat, I just want to make sure that you guys have enough time to clearly give your goals. That's what I'm
We
just.
haven't even got
that's
to
my
our
concern.
goals. These are just your goals.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly,
these-
our goals.
these will all be like I'll use the goal that Paul suggested first as a good example. I mean, it's pretty descriptive. You can sort of have an idea of where it's going and what it's trying to accomplish. We could add a little, we could do like a title and then like a basic description of the goal. But the actual work plans, Jeanette, those get developed by staff in terms of how we plan and see accomplishing these goals after council
Right.
has adopted them. And I know
Right,
you've
I
seen
just-
all of that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because I haven't really heard a clear recommendations. That's what I'm saying. In my opinion. So I'm not sure how many times is the committee going to meet on this topic before they give their final recommendations.
Yeah, so at the end, I mean, you're right. We've been doing a lot of spitballing, but at the end, we're going to be a little more refined and detailed about the language, and then it'll get passed on to council from there. If no one else has,
Judy has
Yeah.
something to say.
Okay, then, what we were talking about at the very beginning, and I have the whole wrong idea in my head. I thought what's going to happen is the council is going to create their goals. And then we're going to understand how we're going to be supporting those goals.
Both.
So-
No, you're not wrong, but today was this committee's ideas that we'll send up to council of like what you think they might want to
They want,
implement,
okay.
and then they would decide, and then that would come back down as well.
I
It's
think-
both
So we're giving some ideas.
ideas
So
for
we're
their
giving ideas.
council setting goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're giving the ideas, and then the council is going to massage it and make their goal from our ideas.
Potentially, if they feel that rises to, kind of what they want to focus on.
Yeah, ideas, recommendations, yeah.
Okay, so we're giving ideas or we're giving a goal, either one. That's what we're doing. So we
Goal.
really don't have to.
Ideas for goals.
Our goals.
Yeah,
Okay, Great.
and we already have 4. Like we've done a really good job of coming up with stuff that you all see as a need, and then council gets to consider it.
So NJ, can you restate what you heard then as the 4 goals?
I have them written down too.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead,
perfect.
Christine.
Sure.
Oh, no, I didn't get Paul's.
My writing of Paul's is up here, so he might have to restate it because it was really good. But create a comprehensive downtown strategy, and it had a bunch of other components to it. And then reopen the community branding and visioning process. And then if the senior center partnership and goals like that are going to stay on, then add to it improve partnerships with the school district and the Scappoose Library.
I had and maybe this is just our committee, let's look into that Main Street program.
And that might be, go ahead.
Creating a downtown association. doing that one, the Main Street program, and how we can, again, I think this is ours, not necessarily council's, but Travel Oregon and Business Oregon. How can we actually use these to, once we get our vision and our branding, to improve our downtown? And once we have our 50-year plan that can define our downtown, or once we hire the consultant to define what we should be later.
Yeah, and I fully agree. And those are going to be whatever you all set out as your downtown vision and strategy. Those are going to be great vehicles to getting further on accomplishing your goals. Those are kind of tools that we have.
If we have enough to forward. Jeanette, are you happy?
Yes, thank you.
Are we moving on to the next bullet?
I would ask you to make a motion just so we have a unified committee voice on those recommendations.
Can I get a, someone make a motion?
Hmm.
Then Jason.
I move to pass the city council the goals that we've just been discussing that you just said,
The ideas,
the ideas.
of goals. Straws.
Second.
I third. Everybody?
Aye.
Okay, we're sending it forward. Good, now we go to the next bullet? Okay, Carl. We are Economic Development Strategic Plan Draft, Vice Chair Carl Finstermaker.
Okay. We had two things that we can discuss today. The first being an agreement on to the recommendation of what downtown Scappoose looks like. No, we kind of didn't. So this was a more specific, what the vision of downtown, where it is, where's it located. We went through a bunch of different ideas. The most consensus right now is to have a split downtown, one more of a commercial area. That's over basically where the pod's starting up. And then a second one that's here with all of the services type businesses and community services. That seems to be the most consensus, but there's been talk of everything here. There's been stretching along 30. There's been talk about multiple, even more than two, multiple little nodes, occasionally maybe, up there and down by the river and, yeah, right. So I think what I know is in order for this to be effective, we need to give a single vision of what we believe downtown Scappoose should be. If it goes up to council, they want to change it, fine, but rather than provide a bunch of different options, this committee should be on the same page, at least a majority, on what's the recommended. We can put in the other options so people know what we looked at, but where are we going to suggest this goes?
Or are we talking about redoing the downtown overlays so that it incorporates?
I want to talk, no, we're not talking about codes and everything that has to happen because of that. It's just simply, ideally in Scappoose,
Where's downtown?
where's downtown? in
Here,
10
here,
years?
this is downtown.
Now where you want it to be in 10 years?
Yeah.
You don't want any other part of downtown anywhere else. You just want to develop this area.
Develop this area.
I believe that other nodes are going to happen naturally anyway, but you can.
George?
Same.
Judy? Where would you like to see downtown?
I'm new,
We love your opinion, Judy.
but with this being like the city hall area and with the Watts Historic House and all the events that
The library?
and the library and everything that they partner over here, from my perspective, I see this more as a civic center. I
But
understand.
where's downtown?
But East Civic Center in downtown, I see downtown as down this street and around the corner, up on 30, kind of like this, just the way the businesses go on Columbia Avenue and then on 30,
The other side.
and then the piecemealed. I don't know, I did a lot of driving around and we got a really nice ridge and farm. Say downtown Scappoose, I have no idea really where.
No, that's what we're trying to define.
We don't have.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's really tough with the quote unquote node system because we don't even have a start yet. So I'm a little afraid to say we're going to have all these little nodes when we don't have, we really need to focus on one area, and make it great. And maybe David's right that the other ones will come later, but I don't think we can just say, well, we're going to have one here and one there. That gets me a little scared. I do think that where we have the downtown now is where it logically should go. And that's, where we're sitting today, where you guys are sitting. But is there space to expand and do things? That's the question. There's lots of issues there with, trying to create developable land. So that's my only question. I do think that Northeast First Street has got a lot of potential there. That could be a walkable street that could be developed, that could be super cool, perhaps, because it is a pretty open space there. And we haven't really talked about that very much. So that could be a nice extension of where, of where you guys are talking today.
Could I ask, Paul, what do you mean northeast, first? Do you mean near where CDC offices are, like the gravel lot next to the railroad tracks on the east side of 30?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, what's interesting
Okay.
is that it's kind of a road, but it's not, it's not really used that well right now. And, there's some constraints there, but at the same time, you could kind of imagine maybe that's a pedestrian only road, for instance, or something, that has got a walkable corridor. Maybe it's only, X hundred feet, but it's a good start. It's just an idea, but it's be very visible from 30, and you could probably put some really cool things in there. It just seems to be the only developable land close to downtown that we have today. I know
Thank
there's
you.
issues, Laura. Yeah, I know there's lots of issues with it, but
Yeah, thanks.
Now we have definition.
Definition. I love
We have a consensus,
amazing.
other than Judy. Our holdout.
She's the odd person. Come with a different perspective. I'm sorry.
I apologize.
We need different perspectives. Otherwise, Carl could do this by himself.
No, I couldn't. I don't know anything about this. All right. The next thing I had was, again, we have all these programs, actions, and levers available that we've been discussing that I keep making notes of different things we could do to drive development, the city could do to drive development. So what I need is to turn these into 2 to 3 sentence. What is this and what's the pros cons on using it? That's where I need help.
You're on
And I don't
the
want to.
program section.
I am. Yep. And I don't want to talk through all of those right now. What I would like is to help everybody to either email me some ideas or just write it out and send it to me and I can update.
Say it again, what you want. So sorry.
I would like for all the bullets in this section, these are all things we've discussed over the last 3 months, maybe more. Each one of them needs a 2 to 3 sentence. Here's what this thing is, and here's how it can have an impact, and here's what maybe unintended consequences of you, or what the pros and cons, whatever is.
Okay.
And I need help doing that.
Under programs actions,
Yes.
you would like pros and cons, or you would like a 3-sentence description, or both?
Yes. Yes. Each item have. The way I say 3 sentences, maybe it can be more, but what we don't need is a novel on each one of these things on all the different, right? Like if there's something worthy of a novel, like it can be an appendix of a couple pages of details of this, that, and the other thing. But like parking routes, closed ordinances, right? It's simply that we can adjust parking routes, parking regulations in the city to drive people to park in one location or not park in one location, to increase what, to encourage walkability. The cons are, our drive-through people aren't gonna have a place to park. Like, it could be something as simple as that, right? It just, so if somebody's reading this, they know, oh, we can do this, but here's high level what might happen if we do.
Are you trying to narrow these opportunities down or just define them?
Right now is to find them. The recommendations is when we'll take our vote on what we think council should do actively to go and drive development the way we want. But because literally every time this comes up, there's always somebody said, well, we should look at this and we should look at that.
Well, then
So-
why don't we like eliminate those and then
Nope.
define that? Okay.
Nope, because you want to put even things that aren't going to be used, want this, everybody who reads this, instead, the first thing that everybody does when we talk about this is, I have an idea that isn't that I've seen work. So we want people to know all the things that we have talked about and discussed in all these meetings at a very high level.
The
They don't
video.
have a new, better idea.
So that rather than waste time hearing the same idea for the umpteenth time, recognize, now, if they want to go and say, that's great, EDC, your recommendations are XYZ, you had B up here, I really think B is smart, we're gonna do B instead of XYZ, like, they can do that.
I offer to do something.
Yes.
So I'll go through and write some descriptions and the just a link in for, like, for example, City of Portland has a tax abatement program. It's pretty comprehensive, and yes, it's going down a rabbit hole, but just putting a link there saying more information here. So a small definition, one sentence, more info here.
Yep.
And
That's exactly what I'm thinking, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
I'll do it.
You've got
my
your
hero.
work cut out with the video series and the defining. Good job.
Slave drive.
So
I think at this point you're the minion.
I
Can't
am.
say slave
I am a
anymore.
slave.
You can't say slave anymore.
So then after that, the only thing left is to make recommendations for what we think needs.
Okay.
So that.
Next session.
That is not this session.
Okay.
So homework, more homework.
Mm.
Is to think about these things and think about what you would recommend. Well, I mean, you can come fresh too. It'll go faster if everybody's thought about it before we.
Right.
We now know what our current state is. We know where we want it to go. We know where the physical location is going to be recommended to be. So with all those things in mind, what do we think are the top items council should use? It could literally be just one thing.
Downtown association.
That's yours. I mean, you want to vote on it right now or?
No, God, no. Carl won't let me. Hey, you ready?
I'm done.
I'd like to reiterate.
David, do you have something to say?
I do, sorry. So, Brian Rosenthal is not here, but, he did say that, the downtown Scappoose should geographically be somewhat diamond shaped like a kite, with the center of downtown being intersection of Columbia Avenue and Highway 30, the axis dividing the diamond into east and west sides, along Highway 30. I'm correcting something. The axis dividing the diamond into north and south sides should be Columbia Boulevard, more the diamond would be east, Highway 30 than west. So do we all agree with that statement? Because it sounds like that's
No, I think what I heard was we want to keep downtown east of 30.
Throughout directions.
we also have
Here.
first on the other side of Highway 30 that's zoned for businesses also, right?
Yeah, it's current. Yeah, it's commercial.
Again, and that's where I want to be, like, there could still be business stuff over there, but I think when you're talking about 10, 20 years from now, when you picture Scappoose in your head, where is downtown considered? When people answer the question, where's downtown? They're going to say east of 30, right there. Yeah, there's going to be, right, businesses, food carts aren't going anywhere. I mean, we got Freddy's and all that other stuff down there. Like, there's going to be other businesses.
Agree with
Paul has to leave. Bye, Paul.
I think he already left, yeah.
Did. Okay, so we have homework. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you, everyone, for swearing to watch the videos that David will send us. Swearing. And our next meeting is January 16th, February 20th, March 20th. I hope everybody has the happiest of holiday season, and we are adjourned 9 minutes early. David, do you want to watch a quickie for 9 minutes?
That would have been just enough time for a video.